I'm going to talking about euthanasia, but first we must know what death is. Okay, death is the end of life or its interruption or the opposite of life depending on how you see it. It is sometimes inevitable that human beings have in common with absolutely all forms of life, in spite of each one has its own lapses or existence. Death is the final experience of all living organisms, although it can occur earlier or later. However, this is not a pleasant topic for most people. It is so well avoid to treat this type of topic to about discomfort or unpleasant or painful. There are several types of death. For example, natural death generally caused by disease or by degenerative process typical of aging. Violent death associated with deaths caused by homicide, suicide, or accidents of any kind. Indeterminate, sudden, or unexpected there are deaths that generally appear to have no apparent reason, also called suspicious criminal deaths. There is also death by assisted suicide. This means that the very person who wishes to die is the one who ends his life, usually by taking a lethal drug. In this case, the task of your doctors is to dispense the drugs in questions or to write a prescription with which to get it. Another type of death is the one obtained through the process of euthanasia, which for some people means good death or is good death. Today we will talk specifically about this type of death. Euthanasia refers to actions carried out by other people at the express and repeated request of a patient who suffers physical or mental suffering as a result of an incurable disease, and that he lives as unacceptable, unworthy, and as an evil to cause him death quickly, effectively, and painlessly. This type of death has three classifications: passive or indirect euthanasia, that which consists in the inhibition to act or in the abandonment of the initiated treatment, avoiding to intervene in the process towards death. Active euthanasia, characterized by the fact that the provocation of death is obtained through actions I made at the shortening or suppressing the course of life. Direct active euthanasia, one in which death occurs directly as a consequence of an action, for example, the application of a lethal dose. It is important to bear in mind that the purpose of euthanasia, whether active or passive, is to improve the last moments of the patient's life so that they not suffer any type of pain. Avoid the pain of family members, friends who are witnessing how someone close it fades little by little, and that the patient can continue making decisions until the last moment of life, choosing how he wants to die, where he wants to do it, and with whom he wants to do it. Countries that authorize voluntary euthanasia. Voluntary euthanasia is legal in the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Colombia, Canada, and Spain. In New Zealand, euthanasia will enter into force in November 2021 after approval in referendum in 2020. In other countries such as Chile, Peru, Mexico, Switzerland, and Uruguay, the project on euthanasia is still in negotiations with their leaders. Candidates for euthanasia: older adults, chronic degenerative diseases such as Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, dementia, HIV/AIDS, pulmonary fibrosis, cancer. Of course, these diseases must be in the terminal phase, which indicates that a disease cannot be cured or treated properly and is expected to result at the death of the patient in a short period of time. In 1997, the Constitutional Court decriminalized mercy killing and established the general rules for the legal practice of euthanasia in Colombia. The regulation establishes that a person suffering from a terminal illness that causes excruciating pain and who expresses her consent may receive help to die from a medical professional. In other words, it is a procedure supervised by the state that can only be performed by a doctor. Euthanasia is a fundamental right recognized by the Constitutional Court and has a regulation from the Ministry of Health that has issued several requirements that must be met. First, not anyone with any type of disease can request euthanasia as the disease must be a terminal state according to a doctor. Second, consider that life is no longer worthy as a result of the disease. Not all terminally ill people want or have to agree to euthanasia. This right is always a personal, free and autonomous decision. 3. Manifest consent in a clear, informed, and free way. The practice of euthanasia always requires that the person be fully informed of her illness and the options available to her. To proceed, it is required that the person express their consent in a clear, informed, and free manner. In some cases, we can express it directly, verbally, to the treating physicians, and he or she can incorporate into the medical history. Other times, our state of health allows us to sign a document with that will and share it with our relatives to have future instructions. Fourth, help to die must be provided by a medical professional, preferably with the authorization of the Scientific Interdisciplinary Committee. For the procedure to be legal, euthanasia must be performed by a medical professional, preferably exhausting the procedure established by Resolution 12B16 of 2015 and with the authorization of the respective Scientific Interdisciplinary Committee to die dignifiedly. In the country, there are still several myths about the practice of euthanasia. For example, euthanasia is the only option to exercise the right to die with dignity. False. First, in Colombia, there are options to exercise the right to die with dignity. Regulate palliative care. The adequacy of therapeutic measures. Euthanasia, which is the possibility that people have that a medical professional gives them effective help to die. Second, all doctors are required to perform euthanasia. False. In Colombia, there is a figure called freedom of conscience that allows health professionals not carry out the euthanasia procedure if it goes against their professional beliefs. Euthanasia will cause thousands of people to die from one moment to the next. False. The existing regulations are clear in the conditions and procedures that must be carried out in order to exercise the right to die with dignity through euthanasia. Each individual must meet certain requirements. Legality must be guaranteed. Despite these rumors, doubts, and taboos, the process regarding the practice of euthanasia in Colombia goes as follows. Several men and women have agreed to euthanasia in almost the same proportion. Since of the 94 cases practiced in the country, 48 were men and 46 women. More striking, resulting geographic analysis of the data, Bogota leads in the exercise of euthanasia with 41 cases, followed by Antioquia with registers 33. These two together represent 78.8% of the total procedures performed. They are followed by Risaralda and Valle del Cauca, each with 9, and Caldas and Bolívar with 1 procedure each. The protocol for the application of euthanasia consists of apply medications such as lidocaine without epinephrine, midazolam, fentanyl, propofol, sodium thiopental, becuronium, which are applied one after the other intravenously, causing relaxation of all muscles to the point for forgetting to breathe and thus causing death. This type of drugs are only used in 4-level institutions with authorization for their use. First case of euthanasia in the country on July 3, 2015 in the morning. The first case of euthanasia in the country became a reality. Mr. Ovidio Gonzalez became the first Colombian to receive legal euthanasia after suffering from a rare gesticulating cancer for 5 years. What caused him unbearable pain was a long process full of refusals from the clinic who would practice euthanasia, but gratifying for his son who accompanied him throughout this process. His son, the Matador cartoonist, captured his entire process and his partner's pain in these cartoons. Euthanasia is a great relief for people who suffer from incurable diseases. We always think that death is a punishment for some, but for other people it can mean a gift, and even so for many other people a favor, because they will be leaving behind all the suffering and their families will be calmer. And finally, a phrase to reflect: death is something that we should not fear, because while we are, death is not, and when death is, we are not. Antonio Machado. For this reason, I always tell my family it is better to remember me happy and healthy than sick and bedridden. So if I reach that state, help me to die in peace, or I diminish your dreams.